It's hard to know where to start, so I'll be brief and then proceed with the rest of the call. But certainly so much has happened across the world and within our own organization since we were all at spring training together last week, and since my last interaction with media. But the general state of affairs at the Orioles organization right now is we have a small group of players that is still in Sarasota. The players were given a choice to remain in Sarasota or return home or return to Baltimore, and many of them elected to go home. Almost all of our minor league players are home and safe and have been since the baseball season was postponed. We moved very quickly and immediately on that front to get those guys home and safe. The ones that do remain in Sarasota are safe and sound and are here because they're from foreign countries that they were not wanting to return to at this time, or they're undergoing medical treatments with our staff and needed to remain close to the staff. We are checking in with our players daily, both major and minor league players, making sure that they're in good condition, checking on them in the context of symptoms of this virus, but also their general health and well-being as well. And we feel really good about where our players and staff all are in terms of their safety, that they are where they want to be, that they have people around them. This has been a tremendous event in a lot of ways, but the amount of work and organization that goes into, getting players where they need to be safely, making decisions to protect everyone's safety is quite a bit, and the communication and effectiveness with which our staff and our organization as a whole, from top to bottom, executed this past week was so impressive, and it gives us a feeling of pulling together and working as a team. So now we are focusing on navigating the next several weeks until ultimately we're playing baseball again.
Mike, prior to today's announcement of the 4 roster cuts, how has this shutdown been impacting business as you would normally do it?
Well, normally we'd be having spring training right now, there would be the types of decisions that take place every day as spring training ticks down, and now we've just frozen in time. The cuts that we saw today, those were moves that we had teed up at the time of the Sun cancellation of spring training. And as a lot of teams have done this week, we went ahead and processed them, knowing that at some point we're gonna get back here soon to playing. If we do have another spring training type atmosphere, it's probably going to be pretty short, and we still have a very large camp roster that we're going to need to whittle down in a hurry. So I talked to those guys, and they let them know the plans for them, the player development plans for them, why we're expecting to start them in AAA. But they're all guys that have either played in the big leagues or are really close to the big leagues, and they could be back with us very quickly, and they're still part of our plans.
There's been some aspects of the league's plan towards draft scouting reported. What kind of guidance have you guys gotten, and how prepared do you feel to rank select players if it came to it based on the information you guys already have?
I have no inside information at this time of what the draft is going to look like beyond what's been speculated in the media. The league has been very good about communicating with us that they are working on it. There's a committee of scouting directors that are involved in that process. And they have, as recently as today, issued guidance that we're basically freezing all scouting activities so that teams aren't trying to create advantages for themselves during this idle period while there's this public health crisis going on. So I like the fact that we've been officially frozen in terms of our activity. We can still evaluate players using video and data, and the scouts can update their scouting reports. And I've given our staff some pretty specific instructions about how we want them to spend their time while they're housebound. And I am extremely confident that we will be as prepared or more prepared than any other team, given the way that our department is set up and the way they've been working since the summer started. That we'll be in good shape for this draft whenever it takes place and however it takes place. But that's all I know right now.
You know, how concerned are you guys right now, given all the uncertainty regarding the draft? Because obviously the draft affects different teams in different ways. And, you know, what is the level of concern that there might not be one, or it may be pushed back, or you may have to alter how you go about preparing for it? And can you just describe a little bit how much that would impact a team like you guys and where you guys are right now?
You know, I'm just being calm and patient about it. There is so much to be worked through by Major League Baseball and the Players Union. The list of items is incredibly long, and then you start digging into each of those items and how it affects everything else, the ripple effect. It's just hard to wrap your head around. And I know those guys are working around the clock to try to come up with an agreement as quickly as possible and one that makes sense for everybody. And I'm sure that they'll come up with the best solution they can to draft one way or another. Personally, I hope that we have a draft this year for a number of reasons, but you know, I think that the league will get around to that once it gets some of these other more immediate items off its plate.
Yeah, Mike, how do you guys prepare for these guys who have worked out for several weeks, gotten warmed, and now, you know, they have this hiatus, and you don't know how long this hiatus is going to be? How do you deal with that? Are there, you know, specific programs? How do you kind of balance how that's happening?
I think the part about it that's unprecedented is the unknown resumption date. And if we knew it, we wouldn't have to hedge against something that's going to be maybe shorter than expected or longer than expected or worse. And because of that, it's uncharted waters. And particularly with the pitchers, you know, our experts, our pitching experts and our training staff and our strength and conditioning staff have been talking since this started and formulating very specific plans and protocols. But we've also got to be mindful first and foremost of the public health situation that's going on and the fact that we don't want our players spending undue time in public or with groups of people until those guidelines change. So we're going to do the best we can, and I'm sure every team is too, but this is certainly uncharted waters for baseball and for pitchers in particular.
So, Mike, the period to sign international amateur players goes through June 15th. Can teams still sign such players? Do you anticipate doing any of that?
You know, it's a very good question. We just received guidance to cease scouting activities. Thankfully, we weren't in the process of executing any international agreements right now. So we're not faced with that question. And, you know, I do believe that as it looks right now, especially with this freeze, we will remain dormant when it comes to the 2019 signing period until something changes. I do think that the league is going to issue some follow-up guidance once they have time to work through some of these issues, where there will be they will lift some of these controls that they've put in place on the scouting community. They just want to stop everything assess the landscape, figure out what we should be doing by talking to these different scouting directors and general managers, and then figuring out the right policy for this period.
Hey, Mike, it's Rock again. Do you have an update on Trey Mancini?
Yeah, he's doing really well. His spirits are great. His physical condition is great. He's been up walking around. He's out of the hospital. He's just doing terrific. Things are going well, but obviously it was a major event that he went through, and it's a process. And he's got some more appointments and tests, and we'll update as we go and as best we can. But feel really good about the prognosis and how he came out of surgery, and where he is and where he's going.